And again, I don't know why, because it's not the first, it's not the last, but I said, look up Bodil Mortensen. And you know, those two kids, they lit a fire. I mean, our state became transformed. The church became transformed. Nobody knew who those two kids were. Nobody knew anything about them. It's almost impossible to believe that their temple work was not done. But the truth is those people never lived in the shadow of a temple. But we found that 83% of the temple work for those who died was not done. And of those who lived, 56% was not done. So President McKinnon and I called President Kitchen, and we knew that something very, very special had happened in our state. And we knew that we had been given a very special assignment. But we wanted to make sure we were right. So President Kitchen agreed to come over on Monday morning at 6 o'clock and meet with President McKinnon and I, and we would show him what we found. And then we called Sister Paige, who was our genealogist, and asked her to meet us at the church and help us fill out some forms. We did not tell her what had happened. We said we just have some names and we want to submit them to Salt Lake and see, what temple work needs to be done. We think we know, but because we had done all 13 at Rock Creek on the computer, so we had those 13 names and we knew what was supposed to be done. And we had their death dates and their names so we could submit them the old way. So we submitted them to Salt Lake and we waited. And the letter came back from Salt Lake that said, yeah, you got to do all this work. So then we thought, wow, we really have got something we've got to do here. So right then, this is after 14 years of arguing with Ken Ballard and the church about Rock Creek. I get a call from Claire Bankhead of the church real estate division, and he said, would you please come down and make a presentation about Rock Creek? I said, why? I mean, all this happened at the same time, within weeks of each other. I said, why would we do that? He said, well, you've been talking to us all these years about Rock Creek. We want you to come down and make a formal presentation. I said, oh, okay. So we wrote 3 little books. And the first one was about the second rescue. The second one was about Rock Creek. And the third one was little journal entries we had from the pioneers. And
we just had the one book at the time, that Handcarts to Zion.
Zion, that was it.
Handcarts to Zion. And it had a list and a few stories.
So we loaded up, the 3 of us, and we drove down to Salt Lake. And we very half-heartedly made a presentation about Rock Creek. We didn't care anymore.
Because they knew what they're supposed to do now.
We knew finally what we were supposed to do. Oh. Rock Creek was unimportant.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And so we just kind of sort of made this presentation, and we gave Brother Bankhead these 3 books that we'd made. And he looked at me and he said, I shouldn't have these books. And I'm not very good at hiding my reactions to what people say to me. And he could tell that, I was not happy that he had said that. And I was thinking, come on, be nice. You can throw them away after we leave. We don't care, but just take our books. I know we're from Wyoming, but just take our books, And he could tell that that's what I was thinking. And he said, oh, no, that's not what I mean. I shouldn't have these. President Hinckley should have these.
Just gave the security guard the books and went home.
Yeah, we went home.
Oh boy.
Well, first of all, we went to Ogden, and we met with the Ogden Temple Presidency.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know the Temple Presidency. We didn't know anything about them. And we go in, and they say, yeah, come on back and see President Baird. So we went in to see President Baird. He's the Temple President. Mm-hmm. And we explained to him what we were doing, and that we had just been to Salt Lake, and we'd given these 3 books, and we had 3 more books, and we gave him the 3 books. And he calls the temple recorder in, Robert Memmott, and they immediately, it was just immediate. They knew what we were doing.
They
And-
felt it immediately,
And
they understood it.
And they said, how are we gonna control this? What do you mean control this? We're just gonna do the research and come down and do the temple work. That's what we're gonna do. And they said, no, 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 no. We have to control this because your people are gonna do the research and they're gonna come down and find out that somebody else has done the work. We have to have a mechanism to make sure that these names don't go to anybody but your stake and only to the people who did the research. And I said, boy, I don't even know what you're talking about. And I think that's the first time ever in the church that the words family file were mentioned.
They invented it for the
They
second
invented
rescue.
it right there and then. They said, we're going to set up files, and that file is going to have all these names in it, and you're going to write a letter to us and to the members of your stake telling them that they're authorized to come down and do the work. We'll have the letter, and they'll bring the letter down, and we'll let them do the work.
So that was,
So they had to have their temple recommend and,
And
a
their
letter.
Yes.
but that was inspiration on their part. That was, revelation for them.
man.
For their callings, because they had to create a whole new system to handle
A
this.
whole new level of, the family files. So we left Ogden and we came home, and in this books, we said that we wanted to hold a stake sacrament meeting and introduce it to the stake and give everybody over the age of 12 a name. And, that's against all the rules. You can't have a stake sacrament meeting. There isn't such a
A few
meeting.
days later.
A few days later, like 3 days later, you know Jack Larson, or you've at least heard of him.
Yeah.
He's an endowed member of the church, but he was completely inactive. And he was in my office. We were discussing something to do with U.S. Energy, and the phone rings, and so I just push the intercom, and the secretary says, Scott, there's a Gordon B. Hinckley on the phone for you.
No way.
Yeah.
Did you think it was a prank?
No. I was scared to death.
I would have thought it was a prank.
And Jack reaches over and he turns it off and he said, is that the Gordon B. Hinckley? And I said, that's the only one I know.